Silence sounds good. One day, when I was returning from office, I asked the driver to make a detour to the teacher's house. Reaching there, I pressed the calling bell, but there was no response. No one came to open the door, nor was there any sound from within. Is he not there? I peered into the room through an open window and found that the fan was on. That meant that he was indeed in the house. Then why this delay? At last, the teacher himself came and opened the door. With profuse apology, "I'm sorry I'm late. I was in the kitchen preparing noodles for my son, who had come back from school. It was then I heard the calling bell. I thought I should put on a shirt." He paused for a while, thinking of something, and then added with a tinge of sadness, "Had she been here?" When working in the kitchen, if she heard the sound of the calling bell, she would immediately open the door and usher in the guest. She would then take the shirt I have to wear and thrust it on my shoulder. All I had to do was to sit in the drawing room and talk to the guest. But then she would have brought tea for the visitor, not forgetting to ask him about family matters. In the midst of it all, she would find time to help our son in his homework and go back to the kitchen to do her work. And when the guest departs, she would be there to bid him farewell. He would never forget this Uttradam, the eve of Onam. Usually on Uttradam day, his sister and children would come here from Bombay to spend a day with the kith and kin. On Thiro Onam day, all of them would go to their ancestral home for a family get-together. His sister's children, born and brought up in Bombay, were fond of the delicacies of the Onam feast. This time, nothing of the sort could be made at home. Could they be bought from outside? Oh no. The children liked the sweets made at their house. They used to enthusiastically partake in the preparation of the Onam specials. They would help in grating the coconut, mixing it with jaggery and spreading the preparation on the leaf, and matching their enthusiasm were fervor and the passion with which she had made the delicacy for them. And this Uttradam day, there was nothing but an anguished sob from my mind. Had she been here? This year, for the first time, I ordered Onam food from the club, and the children were served the feast by me and my sister. While serving, we were silent. So too were the children. Had she been here, my mind ached. That feeling was reflected on the faces of the children. Where is that soft rice that she used to serve on tender plantain leaves? And what a contrast now with the feast from the club, packaged in aluminium foils. It was when the feast was halfway through that I noticed that I had forgotten to light the brass lamp. Though my sister had poured oil and put the wick in it, I said to myself, had she been here? It was my sister who made the suggestion. Why should I and my son lead such a lonely life in our big house? Why not let out the upper floor so that there would be someone to talk to and mingle with? It is a good idea, I agreed. At least when I go to the temple after giving some homework to my son, there would be a consolation that somebody is in the building to take care of him. As luck could have it, I got a good tenant within 2 days, But only when they reached home with their furniture and other belongings did I realize one problem: where to keep my own belongings that now occupied much of the upper floor? Did this house have so many articles? Where would I keep them? Which all would I discard? I couldn't make up my mind. But all these things were there even before I constructed the upper floor. And in what orderly manner had she arranged them all in the house? I didn't even have to think about them. How I wish she were here. Every day she would get up at 4 o'clock. After her bath, she would light the lamp in the puja room. I would wake up only when she called me with the hot bed coffee ready. She would then iron the dress I had to wear for office. Her chores did not end there. She would help my son prepare his homework, put all his books in the school bag, give him breakfast, and then take him to the school bus. She would then rush back home to serve me breakfast before I leave for office. In between, she would run to the door whenever she heard the doorbell ring. It might be the salespeople marketing Rajasthan carpets or vacuum cleaners, or sometimes inmates of some ashram trying to spread spirituality. After sending them away pleasantly, she would again concentrate on keeping things ready for me in my bag and bidding me the usual farewell. Late in the night, she would be seen cleaning up the kitchen, humming a song. She would never close the kitchen before thrice asking the traditional query, "Is there anyone out there starving of supper?" She would then retire to get up again at 4. I have my salary, big saving and many friends, but I have only half my life. My life would never have been like this if she had been here. My teacher remained silent, as though he were in a distant world, silently communicating with her. Once, when I was about to go to office, I saw 2 women coming to our house. They were doing a survey on behalf of the government. Even in the midst of her morning chores, I saw my wife patiently answering their queries. Name? She told her name. How many children? She gave the number. Are you employed? No. Do you have an income? No. Those who came looked at each other. In the column on employment, what should they write? Unemployed or dependent spouse? They wrote Hazif. In other words, one without an income, a dependent person. I thought of my teacher. Didn't he say about his wife that she rose at 4 in the morning and would go on doing her work, going to bed only by 11 in the night? In other words, working 19 hours at a modest ₹100 an hour, her monthly earning would be 57,000. From my lawyer's profession, I made only 36,000 a month. But I am head of the household and she my dependent. To use a euphemism, Hazif or homemaker. In other words, one without a job, one without any earnings. My teacher's sigh turned out to be my own. I stopped my wife flitting here and there in the house and looked at her face, as though looking at her for the first time. Why this way? She wondered. I felt as if my teacher had possessed me. I thought for a while, oh my God, what would have been my fate had she not been here? She stood before me silently, like the Shakespearean Patience on a monument. I could understand her silence much more than her words. That was the moment when I realized silence sounds good.